welcome to the Ms. Wonderful Film Club podcast. I am your host, Jana Marie Rose, and my guest, my favorite guest always, is my best friend since, 1997.
Indeed. An auspicious year.
Yes, Katie McGraw, who goes by Ms. Cool. So we have Ms. Cool, Ms. Wonderful. And 1997 is a special year for this movie we're talking about, which is Gross Point Blank, starring, and I'm going to say the woman's name first, Joan Cusack, because the focus for the Ms. Wonderful Film Club podcast right now is to think about Joan Cusack as this interesting character who is in multiple different movies, but also often playing supporting roles and often in supporting roles with her brother in 10 movies, who is John Cusack. So even though John Cusack is the star of this film, we are going to pump up the volume on Joan Cusack. And also the name Joan is important, I think. Just it's like a heroic woman's name, don't you think? I don't know.
Well, yes, if you're going to go by like Joan of Arc, Saint Joan.
Yeah, I mean she doesn't, but isn't it interesting? Joan of Arc isn't Saint Joan. She's Joan of Arc. Her name is different
That is
than other
true.
saints.
She
Yeah.
is a saint, but yeah, I guess because if you just say Saint Joan, people might be like, well, there's probably other Joans that are saints, just like there's different Saint Elizabeths or Catherines. Like you have to be specific. So just saying Joan of Arc really makes it specific and you know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So Joan also is my grandmother's name. Do you know any important Joans in your life?
Funny enough, I do not. And,
Except for Joan Cusack and my grandmother.
well, right, except for those Jones, but like, I don't have anybody in my family or friends otherwise that, and I feel like normally I would, especially in like, my Catholic family.
Yeah.
But
There's
no,
no Jones. Interesting.
a lot of Marys, Margarets, and Catherines. So they stand
Well,
the test of time.
so Joan is a derivative of John, like the female version. And then also Jane is a female version of John. And
Yes.
Jana is my name, is also like connected to Jane, and then the male form is John. So but you don't hear Joan a lot, the name Joan. So anyway.
Not nowadays.
Yeah. So we're highlighting Ms. Jones. So I have some questions for you to start before we get into Gross Point Blank, because obviously we're going to talk about more than just Joan Cusack in Gross Point Blank. But first, I want to see, because you know so many things about Hollywood, you just seem to have encyclopedic knowledge that I don't have. I want to see if you know the answers to these questions. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. How old is Joan Cusack? You
No,
can
I
take a
almost
guess. I know
IMDb
that's hard.
this. I was gonna look her up and then I didn't. I'll be honest. I know John Cusack because I just had looked him up, and he was born
Oh,
in 1966. So I
is
think
she older, younger?
I think she's older. So she would be like 65,
62.
62.
62. Yeah.
So
So she was born. So she was born in 1962, October
oh,
11th.
that's different. Then she's
Wait,
like 63.
wait, did I mess that up because of the math of like 2025? This year she'll be 63,
There we
but
go.
I
Yeah,
believe
I have an
currently
aunt
she's 62.
whose birthday is like the same time. I think 62.
Which, oh, so Joan Cusack is the same age as your aunt.
As my youngest aunt,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. You have to tell her this now.
I'm sure she'll be
Next,
thrilled.
family party.
Yeah, next
She's
time
a
I see her.
Libra. This makes her a Libra. I don't know if my friend who's into astrology would go into a long exploration of what that means, a Libra, but I
You
don't know.
know,
We can suppose Joan likes balance. I don't know. Libras like balance. And
sure.
apparently they're talkative. This is what I
I
hear.
could believe that.
And indecisive. I've heard this about Libras as well.
Mm.
I don't know. We would have
Even though
to.
I don't know the woman personally, so I can't speak
All
to
right.
that. She's good at playing indecisive characters.
She is. She is.
Yeah.
Okay, what is the profession of Joan's husband? I know I have some hard
Producer?
ones. He's an attorney
Oh,
and he's the president and CEO of a company, Envoy Global, apparently. Oh, yeah.
not entertainment stuff.
Yeah, so, a successful family, we could say. Um, Next question, is Joan a mother or not?
I thought she was,
She
but
is a
that's me
mother.
guessing.
Yeah, she is a mother. Okay. She actually has two sons.
Uh-huh.
Um, okay, what TV show did Joan start out on in the 80s?
Like square pegs.
Saturday Night Live for a
Oh, right, right.
season.
I forgot. Yeah, she was on that like
One season.
missing lost season kind. Well, not missing, but just
Yes.
like the lost season of SNL.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was like Anthony Michael Hall, Robert Downey Jr., like all these movie stars.
It would be interesting to watch that season.
I've seen some of it from, when they would repeat it in summer, and it doesn't all stand up.
Okay.
Like some sketches work, and then others you're just like, yeah, I can see this was the year that I think they were just bringing Lauren Michaels back.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
Yeah.
like
I don't follow enough Saturday Night Live because I like some skits, but others are just boring and I just
that's
can't
how it
really.
is.
It's like you're eating a pack of Mike and Ike's and you're only wanting the green and the yellow or something. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just skip the Mike and Ike's because
Well, there's always YouTube now, and you can just look at
yes,
what the sketches
exactly.
are that are
Exactly.
really rising to the top.
Yeah. Okay. Joan was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. Do you know which movies she was nominated for?
I want to say In and Out
Correct.
and Working Girl.
Yeah, good for you. I'm impressed.
Well, I remember those
Of course you
were
would.
like key best. Well, no, she's not just the best
I
friend in
have to
that
see
one.
Working Girl again. We have to watch that.
It's a
That's
good
kind of
one.
important. I know. We have to watch
It's
that.
very iconic of the like they're getting on the ferry, they got their high top pumps on and
Yeah.
change into their high heels when they get to the office. It's very like into the secretarial pool.
Yeah.
Big hair.
Yeah, we have to watch that. Okay. On Sophia Coppola on her Instagram, she had maybe last year she posted something about Working Girl and she was saying how much she felt it stood the test of time in watching it. Yeah. Um okay, Joan was nominated and won an Emmy for a TV show as well. Do you know what TV show this is? Are you googling?
No,
Okay, I'm just checking your internet.
Shameless.
Yeah, shameless.
Because
I
I
feel
did
like we
watch
should.
maybe the first season or so of that, and she was in it as this like agoraphobic mother who was like crazy but
Yeah, I saw the
interesting.
beginning of Shameless, but I don't remember
It's
much.
not
I
in like
watched
the
it
first
way
episode.
back. It's in the first episode. I
No, I'm
watched.
saying it's not a first episode thing.
Um,
And I think she was on it for a number of seasons, but she wasn't like every episode.
yeah, it didn't. I didn't stick with Shameless that long. It got a
Mm-mm.
little shameless, I guess.
It did.
Okay, and she did. Joan did a popular voiceover role for what Pixar movie?
Toy Story
Yes. Two,
2.
3, and 4. Yeah. Two, 3, and 4. Who knew there were 4 Toy Stories?
Yeah. And they
Yeah.
get more and more emotional.
Really? I can't remember. I
Yeah,
mean, I
man.
vaguely remember the first one. I just don't, I'm not a cartoon person.
I understand, but it was, yeah, it takes you on a journey. It really does. It's like the Inside Out thing. It's like tears are going to probably be shed, at least for the last two of the Toy Story series.
You shed some
Intense.
tears?
Of course,
Okay.
there are stakes. it's about growing up. It's about when these kids leave and what happens with their toys who are like having their own tragedies. It's just like it's cute and funny, but it does have
Yeah.
some real like
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these films, these Pixar movies, I mean, they're
They're
really,
deep.
they are deep. They're really deep. Okay. So we are talking today about Grosse Point Blank, which was made in 1997, which was the year you and I graduated high school and
Hmm.
began college.
Indeed.
And Grosse Point Blank came out. The director is George Armitage, if I'm saying that correctly. He died this year, actually. I saw that he died in
That sounds
February.
familiar, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't know his other movies.
I know the other movies weren't
As well
there was
known.
one called Hitman. I mean which I thought was interesting considering Grosse Point Blank is about an assassin. They weren't as I don't think well received or as popular because they didn't really star the Cusacks. I don't think the other movies did. No, maybe one did. Either way, the screenplay, John Cusack helped to write, and then there's a bunch of people on this screenplay. Did you see that? Steve Pink, Tom Jankowicz, and then this other guy, DV. I don't know why I don't see his whole name there.
I don't know.
DeVincentis. I don't know. I was thinking when I looked like 4 or 5 people writing a screenplay. It's a lot of cooks in a kitchen.
Well, some of it might be someone writes the first draft and then or treatment or whatever they call it. And
Yeah.
then people go back in and they punch it up. And
Yeah.
so
And
then
the
you end up
lines
like
here or
having
there. Yeah.
whoever were the primary contributors
Yeah.
get the credit. It's like SAG stuff. I don't know, where it's like
Yeah.
whatever the guild says.
Right. So Joan Cusack plays Marcella, who is the assistant, the personal assistant to Martin Blank, who's John Cusack. And she basically just assists him and encourages him to fulfill his duties as an assassin, and also
Right.
she's kind of encouraging him and supporting him in his life in a personal way because she's like, I really think you should go to your 10-year high school reunion.
Yeah.
um
Get some
she's very
perspective.
funny. Yeah, get some perspective. So it's black humor, and watching it, I loved this movie when it came out because you know about my crush on John Cusack from the time. I mean, say
Of
anything. I
course.
had this huge crush on John Cusack, and my plan for every date back in college was that the man had to watch John Say Anything so that
Hmm.
he would know
How to
how to
treat you.
like. Yeah.
This is what you're
Um,
looking for. Yeah. No, well, who doesn't? I mean, I don't know that I was ever like obsessed with it, but I was always like, oh, he has a new movie coming out.
yeah, he
I'm
has
I'm
a
in for it because he was, I mean, just a quintessentially like cute, but not too much
yes,
prettiness, like just like more of the average down to earth looking
yeah,
guy who was just cute and funny. And some of that's just because of the characters that he played for a long time. I mean, Lloyd Dobler from Say Anything is iconic. So you
yeah,
can't help but be like, oh, he's so charming and like wants to just loves love and just wants to be the best boyfriend.
yeah, yeah,
And it carries him over. I mean, he's a good actor though, obviously, and like
yeah.
many other things.
But he can't play just any role. I mean, it's interesting to look at the different roles. I haven't watched all of his films, but he definitely had that. He fit into the romantic kind of comedy movies, and
Oh
not even
yeah,
comedy as
rom-com.
much. And then as he got older, I found it after Grosse Point Blank and some of the other films, I found it challenging because he was still this young, college age guy to me in my head, and
Right.
having
I
to
mean, he was in
watch
his
him
30s
age.
by then, but he looked young. And yes, but like I understand because then he would play darker characters, which is fine. I mean, you want to show range and you want to have different challenges. And sometimes it really works, but it didn't always make me want to like watch him as much. And that's just a flaw in me. Like being
Yeah.
John Malkovich, arguably, he's like great in that. And I just remember watching that movie and just being kind of like kind of a yuck factor the whole time by everybody and everything. And I know that was probably intended, but it definitely, he just was greasy and like not good, not nice. And I just have never gone back to that. Just
Yeah.
because he can play eccentric and evil pretty well. You know,
Who's he? John Malkovich or John
John,
Cusack?
no, John Malkovich, of course, is like the king of that. But like John Cusack can play those kinds of roles. It's just, it's not always something that attracts me to wanting to
Right.
watch him in that role,
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer him as
you
the
know,
yeah, I prefer him as the cute
as like
boyfriend
the
guy.
hero,
Yeah, but he's so in Gross Point Blank, what's interesting is
an anti-hero.
he's an anti-hero, and yet it's so like I don't it feels so I'm not bothered by the any like violence. It feels like such a soft violence because you know that it's tongue in cheek, you know, that it's not real. Like
Right.
there's no sense in the character of like, ooh, this guy's scary or dirty. Like he still feels like the clean John Cusack in a nice black suit,
Yeah.
but yet he's an assassin. And you know that this is just a journey of imagination to imagine an assassin. It doesn't feel like it holds up like a farce, like as a farce, as
Yeah.
opposed to feeling too real, like he's really killing people. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah. No, it's like the TV show Barry, where it's
Oh,
like
okay.
a dark comedy drama that also has like some extreme violence in that, but it is like this character who's like trying to become more self-actualized and not so like machine, just gets his money, hits his mark, all done, and it's like very compartmentalized until like in the show, for instance, he gets into acting, and that's like a form of therapy, and it's allowing himself to have emotions and explore them, and making it harder then to want to keep killing and wanting to get out because he's like wanting connection and finding people that he likes and certainly doesn't want dead. So like I think the same thing is happening with Gross Point Blank. They just did it earlier. Um, because his character, Martin,
Martin, yeah.
is is already like at the start of it, while he's completing a very efficient killing, at least the first one. But even then he's starting to slip, and that's the whole thing. He's like just his heart's just not in it, basically. And he's kind of questioning like maybe this isn't for me anymore, but then who would I be? And then like he's in therapy against the therapist's will, which was played
I love
excellently
the
by Alan
therapist.
Arkin.
I know. He's so great. He's so
He's
great
so
at
good.
this.
Where he's just like, you could kill me. What do you want me to say?
I'm emotionally involved with you, Martin. Like he's just
They're
like
like,
I
please,
can't.
please.
What do you mean? Why can't I just sit here and talk about my feelings and you just be a therapist? He's like, because I can't.
Right. Or my dreams. And then it's like, okay, what are your dreams? And he's like, it's like I'm the Energizer Bunny. And I just keep going, going, going. And like, that's kind of cute though. And he's like, no, it means you're like an automaton. You're just killing, killing, killing. And you're unhappy. It's like, well, let's not get into that side of things.
Yeah, he just he's like really annoyed with therapy. And also I love when Alan Arkin as Dr. Oatman, he's eating like a burrito at one point. Like Martin
Yeah.
calls him on the phone and he's like, all right. And he's just giving him like a pep talk over
Yeah.
the phone
Like,
while
fine.
he's eating his burrito.
Right. Are you breathing? Say you're breathing, then
But with
breathe.
but in 97, therapy is really ubiquitous now. It's
For
very
sure.
common for people to have a therapist. But in the 90s, it was still relatively new to have a therapist. So this story just has so many interesting elements of that kind of capture the 90s and like this new tech age and like trying to make sense of the world and approaching the new millennium. I feel like all those
Right.
like questions that people were facing kind of show up in interesting ways. It doesn't even really have 90s music. That's what's
No, because
another interesting thing. There's
they're
like,
playing the 80s music in honor
yeah,
of the reunion.
right, right.
So yeah, no, and of course I'm liking it. I mean, we were very young in the 80s, let me be clear. So it's not like we were driving around to that music unless it came on the radio and your parents played it. Uh, but it's fun. It's like a throwback. Uh, you are seeing like things that just seem so out of place in today's technology because that technology just you can film something last year and it's already like stuff that you'd be like, oh, that's so outdated. But the flip phone
I
with like
know where
the
they
whole
like
big
open
cell
it
phone
dial. Yeah.
and the dial up to get to the internet um and then does he have a fax machine in his car? Doesn't he get a
Yes.
fax? Which
Yes.
I found that fascinating just because I was like, how did people actually have fax machines in cars or was that just a made up thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
That's
But you had to be pretty advanced. Like that wasn't a common
well,
occurrence.
no, of course not. I
Nor
mean,
nor was the cell phone. I think it was still pager era,
for sure,
you
there was still
know?
a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
guess, if you're killing and you're going to go for the high tech
Right.
stuff,
Right. Well,
um,
because he's making six figures, he says. So that's
that's true.
yeah.
It's an investment
He
in
likes the
you.
money.
But yeah, seeing those kinds of things, it was like, oh, wow, 97. It feels so long ago, and yet it didn't feel really too old to me. Now, maybe if like our kids were watching it, they'd be like, oh my God, what are they wearing? And what's this and what's that? But I feel like it kind of
It was
keeps
pretty
up well.
classic. Yeah, it was a lot of classic. So Joan Cusack's clothes are kind of interesting because she's in these suits, but they're a little more mod. Like
Yes.
there's a lot of classic in the fashion. It's not
Or
too
or like
kitschy.
simple with like what Minnie Driver wears and
Yeah, because Minnie Driver could wear that today.
yeah,
The green shirt and the
and
t-shirt and
a
the
nice
jeans.
pair of pants and a
Yeah,
blazer, sure, and
yeah,
heels.
yeah.
Yeah, well, and Joan Cusack, I mean, I do appreciate when she's wearing that like Sergeant Pepper's
Yes, I love
thing, and he
that.
says like, "Yes, Sergeant Pepper," just
Yeah.
when they're having their confab. But
And the
I liked their
interaction.
interaction a lot,
Yeah.
even though it's not in the room with each other that much. It is very funny, and hearing her be like, "Well, sir," and like talking to him, but at the same time being very, uh, you know, not afraid to get sassy with her boss, so to speak, and be like, push back some, to try to keep him on track. Uh, so I thought that was cute. Also, there like were other Cusacks in the movie. And
Yeah, that was going to be the other question I asked you, and I forgot. I was going to say, hey, do you know the name of some other Cusacks? Because there's quite a few in Hollywood, and there's another one. Yeah.
right. Well, because I think he's got like five or six people in his kids in his family. Well, Ann Cusack, I just recognized her when she came up as the drunk woman, and then she's later at the when she comes up as a drunk woman at the Hippo, and is like, "Oh my God, you
I
guys!" and like
didn't
sits down.
realize that was her.
That's her, and then she's like a classmate, so you see her in the prom, not the prom.
Yeah.
It's like a prom, uh, in the reunion, and then I didn't see who the person was, but when I was seeing the list of credits going down, it had Bill Cusack, and I don't know if that's a brother or it's probably a brother because I think all of his family was basically in show business. And so it's a lot of people that I think worked together whenever they could, like from Chicago,
Yeah.
because then you have Jeremy Piven, who was like,
He's just
grew up
always
with
so
them,
much
best
fun.
friends.
He's so much fun, and he so fits like the way a guy in a small town would look. And
Yeah,
then he
real
just
estate agent.
graduates. Yeah, he just graduate. But he every role that he plays, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
Like it's so interesting because like I can't imagine. That's the thing that's interesting about these characters. So John Cusack is, the main character, but I feel like when Joan Cusack is in some of these films with him and often in supportive roles, she's such a helpful accent that helps like both it just amplifies the movie in a way that doesn't feel minimal. Like it feels like it makes the movie soar. It makes the movie have that zing.
Hmm.
And Jeremy Piven does the same thing in movies he's in. I feel like he's just so fun and I wonder what he's like in real life. I wonder if he's really intense in real life.
I've heard, I mean, I don't know. There's
Yeah.
been different things that people talk about him being like maybe sometimes a bit of an ass or like maybe that's from his Entourage days. I don't know.
Well,
But
I mean
like,
in the show Entourage he's like
well,
a
he was in that, but then also like there was like different gossip about, I don't know, maybe being a little too much. Um, but he can really bring in that high energy of just
yeah,
like
like
he says the same line w- 10 years. He says that like more than a dozen times, I feel like, in the
yes.
span of 2 minutes when he and John are in the car driving and he's just like 10 years, 10 like he says it differently every single time. And the whole time you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
He's excited. And
Yeah.
it's just cute because he's cute in his way of being with Martin, who hasn't seen in 10 years, and just kind of like falls back into line. I mean, they don't focus as much on that friendship, but the fact that like he comes back around when it's the dance or I really just keep wanting to say prom because it's so prom-like.
The reunion.
The reunion, and the French guy, the French assassin, gets killed by a pen by John Cusack because it is self-defense. So you do feel more like, all right, he's allowed to kill that guy. But like scares off Minnie Driver because why wouldn't it? And then, but like Jeremy Piven's character comes in and it's just pretty much right away like, okay, like, oh, you need me to wrap him up in this banner? We're doing it. And like, we're gonna put him in the incinerator. Oh,
I
he's just
know.
like
It's so
going with
convenient that
it.
the school has an incinerator for, if you need to put dead
I
bodies
know, I
in.
know.
Yeah.
But who knows? But like
That you
just
just
the
have
way he's
access
like,
to at any time during the day. Yeah, here's an incinerator. Like
right. It's very, I don't know, old school seeming. But the fact that he's just like, okay, and he doesn't really ask any questions except just like, so that's all his blood. And he's like, you had to do it. And he's like, yeah, I had to do it. So it's like, okay, okay. And it's just a funny,
like, well, he's
very
kind of in
bro kind of
shock.
thing to be doing, actually.
Yeah, but he's also kind of in shock because after they
Yeah,
walk back and he gets like a whiskey, he's like, "What just happened?"
right.
Um, I also think he's adorable when he's dancing. Is her name Jenny or Debbie? I can't remember the
Jenny
Jenny.
Slater.
Jenny Slater, perfect name for, the girl he would have a crush on in high school. And she's like
Right.
ignoring him, but he's
Yes.
hopeful that maybe she'll pay attention. And then like you see them dancing.
Right. Because it's like, once the drinks happen and everybody kind of gets out of their like old high school mode of being, because you see that in the beginning. Everybody's just very like
Stiff.
stiff and just, being with people that you knew 10 years ago through high school, it can kind of just cause you to regress to a certain point, for some of them at least. And you see those like relationships playing out. Like it could be the prom from 10 years before with the way the one guy is like, you know, Jeremy Piven's character is trying to get with Jenny and is like, yeah, I mean, we were in 11 classes together and I did that paper for you. And she just is like, okay, okay, like backing up with her plate and just turning around. So like, I'm not engaging.
But then she dances with him.
But then she dances with him in the end. So it's kind of like, all right, because they're all adults and what are you going to do? But, and he did have a good line about like, uh, Paul is his name, to Martin about, okay, yeah, I guess I'll see you at the already peaked and we're just sad, like something like the already peaked, it gets worse from here party, as referring to the reunion. Like the peak has been reached. We're not doing anymore. Like sad.
Well, I was trying to remember if I like my 10-year reunion because I don't know if I went to the 10-year or if I just went to the 20-year, which is freaking me out that I'm like old enough to say I'm beyond my 20-year reunion at this point. Did you go to your reunion? I went to one reunion and one other party-ish thing that I don't know if it was an actual reunion
I went
or
to
if
the 5 year, and then I think I went to, I can't remember if I went to 10 or maybe it was 15.
yeah, I went to something and it was awkward. Um,
There is a little of
it was
that.
really it feels like you're in a weird alternate dimension of life because like some people I think stay in their town, for high school and everything and I
Right.
just was not a fan of high school. So for I just it felt so odd to be like who I am and then to see myself my high school self how I don't know. I just feel like my high school self was a shadow self of like a not really me.
Right.
Yeah, so it was just odd to see people who were just the same but older. Like it freaked
Yeah.
me out a little
I
bit.
could see that. I mean, I think similar experience, but it wasn't like everybody was do that I would see there. It was like doing well, had achieved pretty decent levels
Yeah,
of
well, you went to
success.
that
And
hoity-toity girls' high
well,
school.
I did go to that prep school.
I just went to a
Um,
South Jersey public school, so
right, right. So maybe it'd be different, but like it is, but it's like people are still who they are. They're not suddenly like they don't do a complete 180 on their personality even
mhm.
15 years later. It's still them. I just think like whoever you are then, the core of you, that's you.
Well, what was the core of you in high school that is like still you?
I feel like I'm exactly the same in so many ways.
Really?
Because I was doing really well, so why would I change? No.
Very true. Very
No,
true.
I mean, I was more shy
Yeah.
and I
You
don't
like
know.
to read, but
Maybe,
you don't read as much now because none of us read
oh my God,
any
of course I don't
anymore.
read now.
Yeah.
Like I have the worst.
So upsetting.
But like, I've always been a very kind of low key, goes with the flow for the most part, nice person. So that's continued.
Yeah.
Um, being a little bit more opinionated or willing to share opinions and be a little more outside my shell, that has come with age and just experience. So,
Yeah.
but I think anybody that knew me when I was 17 would say, like, meeting me now, it's pretty much the same. Like, and that's how I felt about everybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody ever has like a full, you can improve on things, but you are still who you are.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was pretty quiet, but I also had like my sassy side. But I don't think I let that out because there weren't as many opportunities to let it out. Like I was a little more introverted and like inward.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like it would have been that's why college, I loved college because that was where I could be a little more extroverted. But I
Yes.
wasn't like that in high school. It was
Right.
there was too many politics in the social dynamics of high school students that I think the
Always.
movie's trying to talk about that a little bit, and like Minnie Driver's character uh as the girl like, Martin's girlfriend. What's her I'm forgetting her name. Gosh,
Debbie.
Debbie. Yeah. So she seems really shy about talking to people from high school. She has like no interest in talking to the people.
Somewhat, but then she's also like got the radio thing going on. So she's
Yeah.
very like, she's kind of she's quirky. Just the way she, and maybe she's not as quirky when not around her long lost ex-boyfriend, but he comes in and she's kind of right away like, game on. Like, let me quiz you on the show about where you've been for 10 years and you stood me up for the prom, but playful about it
Mhm.
and like just very, I don't know, zippy.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I guess if the movie was more on the real rom-com side, I would be like, and I remember thinking this when I saw the movie before, like years ago, that I was a little bit like, well, what? I want to hear the history of the relationship of exactly like we get sort of bare bone outline details of, you know, they were together. He eventually says, I just had this moment of like panic and maybe I wanted to kill someone. So I joined the army and I just left. And apparently hasn't been home, even though like a parent has died, the mother's in an institution. He's just like, I joined the army, then I got into government like spook work, and then I just, go freelance to kill people. But even when he's explaining that later, I feel like I relate more than to Debbie's character when she realizes who he is and what he's been doing. And he's trying to explain, like, listen, these, if I'm at your door, that means something's happened. Like you're not clean or whatever, like something's gone on. But like, you see the look of horror in her face where she's just kind of like,
Well, you're a
stop
psychopath, she
rationalizing
said.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
because he
And
does
like,
rationalize it. Yeah.
right. And it's like, okay, maybe he's not a psychopath, but also
Oh, I don't know.
he
What's
says
this?
psychopath because he says he's not because he doesn't kill
Oh,
just for killing, but I don't think that necessarily works anyway on the
yeah.
psychiatry.
What the official? Okay, go ahead. Keep
It's
talking. I'm gonna
like,
look up the
okay, you
official
do it
definition of psychopath.
right, or like sociopath, like the fact that you can sort of compartmentalize things to a degree that it's like I like getting into the precision of doing things. It's like, well, you're not a real hardcore serial killer, but you're bordering on that. But you're doing it for pay, which somehow makes you better than others. But in this,
He thinks it's better
he
because
thinks
he
it's
does
better
it
because
for
he's like, I'm
pay.
doing it for the money. And then, but then he has enough knowledge to be like, I mean, that sounds bad. But what I'm saying is, and it's like, you're still killing people. Like, you're still not being moral.
So listen to okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's why the movie's just to me fun because I don't take it seriously that this person it's more the juxtaposition of love and thinking about high school and like going back to your
Right.
hometown
And then dodging hitmen.
simultaneously, yeah, and being a hitman. It's just and the way people react and the guy when the Dan Aykroyd character wants him to join a union, like
I
he's like,
know.
of hitmen. It's just and
I
there's
do think it's
it's just
funny.
so funny. I mean, it's just it's really that's what makes it so fun. It's a
Yeah.
juxtaposition because I never really feel like this guy is actually killing people, like it's not that kind of movie and there's like that nice veil over it in it being the black
Right.
humor. But here's the difference between psychopath and sociopath. Okay. So a psychopath typically lacks a conscience,
Right.
does not explode under pressure, and
Yeah. They're
only gets
sweet.
into relationships to use other people.
Right.
This is a really quick little thing.
Yeah.
And then a sociopath may have a weak conscience, quick to anger when confronted with their behavior, often have legal issues and unstable personal lives. Oh, shit. Like, there are people in this world who would probably call me that. But it's Donald Trump. Like, what would he
Yeah.
fit
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
this? What would he fit into? I'm trying to think.
I think maybe psychopath actually.
No
Uh,
conscience. Yeah, you don't think he has any conscience.
I only in the way of how does this serve me or, and if it happens to be turning it turns into a moral kind of like higher ground to be on, then that's fine, but that's not but that only works insofar as it is serving him.
Yeah.
Sociopath, at least it's kind of like you can maybe work with that with therapy and like
But why
it's
socio? Like, what is the reason? I'm trying to.
is it like a
I used to look
relationships
like we
thing?
used to have classes where we learned all this psychology stuff, and
Yeah,
I
but the
remember
things
being
still
able
have
to know the difference.
these definitions though change and different criteria gets
Oh.
brought up. I feel like sociopath can be also more like it's not a born this way necessarily. Like maybe you have certain personality, underlying personality disorder, but then circumstances around you
Oh,
shape.
interesting. Yeah. Also, it's saying it's like antisocial personality disorder, sociopaths.
Right.
Whereas psychopaths, it's they genuinely don't have remorse or empathy. So they could I think that's what what Martin Blank is trying to say. He's like, it's not that I just like killing people because I
Right.
don't have empathy. I'm making money.
Yeah. But like I'm not just gonna like well, because he's trying to make it reasonable to himself to be like, if I'm being hired, then you've got to know this person, like, because I guess he also gets these background files, so he can say, like, a lot of these people I've killed, at least as far as he knows, have done terrible things. And so it's okay. Like, it's not government sanctioned, but it's like akin to that. But even that, it's like, yeah, but you never know. And like,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting to think of like when you were saying sociopaths can maybe be it's more trained, like it's not
or it's a
innate.
way of coping and reacting to things.
Yeah, because it's saying they really don't like people. Like they're not really antisocial. Like they don't want to meet people. They don't want to connect with people. They'd rather just kind of
Or
be on their
they do
own.
it on a shallow kind of level. But that's stuff where you can learn with therapy to sort of fake it till you make it. Like, okay, I'm never going to be feeling this level of remorse for something that, maybe I hurt someone in whatever way. It's not going to hit me in the same way, but I can realize intellectually that is a bad thing to do. And so like it's kind of like they can reverse engineer it and learn how to work within society and and they have feelings, they do feel things, so it's not an all or nothing thing. But I think he's got some of that going on because it's just a bizarre thing because it's like he just went off to the army and you're like,
Well, because he's angry and
why?
he wants to, well, he said, I'm angry. I want to kill people. So I went to the army. I
I
mean,
know,
I
and
think a
that's all
lot
you
of, but
get.
don't you think that's a lot of people who
I
enlist?
do, but it just sounds like
Not
he
all of
was
them,
living
but
a very normal high school life, obviously troubles at home, but like it all of his friends and the whole town was kind of like, what? Like and his teacher that he sees in the beginning, where she's just like, you were obviously on the right track. Like, what traumatic thing happened? And he never goes into, I don't know. It's just more like, well, it was prom night and I just couldn't handle it. Like, I
well,
just felt angry and I didn't want to be angry at you to Debbie.
and he has feeling. I mean, I guess you too, you can see his feelings because his mom, he's sad about his mom not really knowing him anymore because she has
Yeah,
dementia.
obviously she
He
was
wants
unstable.
Debbie, the girlfriend. He wants her. He cares about her. Whereas Dan Aykroyd, I forget that guy, the character. Do you remember?
Mm.
Did you write it down? Dan Aykroyd, that is such a funny character. The other hitman who's trying
Well,
to
he is, and I do like
join
when,
forces. He's
yeah,
the one who's just popping pills. Like he really doesn't care about people. He's just looking out for his own aims. I feel like Martin, you can see he has a little bit more of a heart. But
well, yeah,
the other guy, I forget his name now. I have to look it up. But he's just like, oh wait, I put it oh, I didn't put it down. He's just like popping the pills. Look, this these pills are great. He wants them because it helps him just stay numb to
right,
like
right,
the whole
yes,
experience. Yeah.
and amped, I guess. I don't know, maybe it's like amphetamines, but like, I mean, I do appreciate that he is bringing collective bargaining to the table, and it is kind of funny because he's like, listen, what do I got to do to get you in on this? Like, even at the very end, he's still trying to be like, what about this? We have meetings. We don't have meetings. What do you need?
Yeah.
Um, because, and especially because you have John Cusack's character being like, I, what are you forming? Like a union? You can get your guild talk away from me. And he's like, it's not a union. It's just a group of people that want to have some, autonomy and the ability to do some collective
I love the line where,
negotiating,
well, like
which is
the
like that is the exact definition of a union.
yeah, it's the scene where they're in the breakfast place
Yeah,
and they're ordering breakfast and Martin's like they're just looking at each other because they don't know if either one's going to shoot. I
right.
always loved the line about Martin orders an omelet and she's like, okay, what would you like in the omelet? He's just like, just the egg, just egg white omelet, please. And she's like, well, then it's not really an omelet. He's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to get into a semantic
I just
argument
want the
about it. I just
protein.
want the protein. And then that's one of my favorite lines. And then there's a couple others. One is with Joan Cusack, but the other one with the grocer, Dan Aykroyd, his name is Grocer, which is a funny name for him.
Oh, that's right.
He, I think John Cusack's character is saying, I'm either gaining a conscience, or I'm falling in love or something. And then like it flashes to the next scene where Grocer's like chasing him down the street. That guy's either gaining a conscience or
Yeah, right, right.
or
Yeah.
something like that, or he's
He's
falling
going
in
through
love.
something, or he's
Yeah,
starting
midlife
and
crisis
rethinking his
or
life.
yeah. But the other scene that's great because I mean, really no one other than Debbie, who also blows off the conscience, which is I think another reason why the movie's just kind of fun because it's just like people like it's almost Kafka-esque, and like the absurdism of
Yeah,
our world. Um and Joan Cusack's character Marcella, she's talking on the phone ordering like chemicals that are basically weapons that are meant to like
right.
kill.
Yeah.
It's like cyanide or something. And
Artillery and other stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, I
And they didn't
gave
have
you
the
that
order.
on the phone. She's like really aggressive on the phone with the buyer. And then she switches over to like a family friend and she's talking about the soup. I love that line. She's like, onions are just the base of a
Yeah.
soup. We're just making a soup. So it's just so funny to go from like these chemicals that she's ordering for the hitman and
Right. And like
like,
being very profane and stuff just to be like, you need to, like a boss.
yeah.
Uh, and then it's okay, well, no, that's a lovely soup, but celery, carrots, I mean, these are the base. You need to put in other things. No, I'm not saying you're doing it wrong, but like, it's like whatever. So you're just like, okay. You know
I
what?
love that.
Everybody's got a work life and a home life. You
Yeah.
gotta
And
just deal
then
with it.
toward the end when she's like, she's
Burn down the
burning, yeah,
place.
and she has this great again clothes, this great pink jacket. Did you see that? Like, it's not the Sergeant Pepper was pretty hip, but she has this beautiful pink jacket on, and she's like throwing the
Yeah,
computers everywhere. And then he calls her, and he's like, "Listen, I have a special present for you." And she
right.
sees that he's like, giving her a bunch of money. It's just
Yeah, because she's a partner.
how did it come? Like, I just think it's so original. What I like about this movie, and what I always like, there are these great lines, these great one-liners all throughout,
Right.
and it's so relatable and at the same time absurdist.
Yes.
That it's just really original. I think.
Hitmen are just like us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it's kind of saying. And he's so because he's John Cusack, he's so lovable as the hitman and like
Right.
fun to watch,
He's
especially in the
got good
black suit.
chemistry.
He does, yeah. He
And
just
he
has
has
such
great
a
chemistry with, I think, with Debbie. Just the way that they immediately, I mean, like they basically go at each other kissing as soon as they are in the same room together and haven't even spoken. And then it's like, no, 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 wait, like we need there need to be rules. But you see how they're constantly like gravitating towards like where he's getting in her space and she's getting in his, and they don't get together right away, but like there is this like energy, um, which is very cute. And it's like they just get each other on this whole other level. But, and I do, I do really like when they're in towards the end of the movie and all the shootings happened. And then she's in the bathtub with her dad trying to keep safe and like nearly shoots John Cusack after he's killed everybody because he just
And
opens the door.
there he's a hero though. He's like protecting the woman he
Yes,
loves.
he is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
her dad.
Yeah.
Um, but then like, there's blood and stuff everywhere, and he's just kind of like, okay, now it's not even like, oh, the coast is all clear. He's just like, I really want you to just, I know this is a lot right now, but I really'd like you to think about seriously, will you marry me?
Yeah, I know. I love it. I know. I know.
But I do
Again,
like that she's not immediately like, yes, she just kind of takes the gun and taps the door closed, like, and
yeah.
he's like, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough,
Yeah.
fair
Yeah.
enough. Obviously, other things have to get done, and then you can think about it. But he's just like, so, like, the whole time that shootout is happening, he's talking to her to be like, I know this is bad, and I'm just, but hear me out, and they're coming at us, and I'm trying to save you and your dad. And
Yeah.
even the dad's like, I have no problem with that.
Right.
Like,
Guy just
go
saved my
ahead.
life. I think you can marry him. Um, so but I think something about violence in the movie that's interesting because I don't typically watch anything that has like violence and like I don't have
There are
much
a
of
lot.
a much toleration for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some movies that you watch and I think you can feel there's almost a gratuitous or amount of it or there's like an energy underlying the violence that suggests
Cartoonish.
I don't know, a fiendish kind of like
Oh,
appreciation for it. And
sure.
this one, I think the reason I can handle it and stomach it and not be worked up is that it's so yeah, it's cartoonish. I think that's the way it's
It is
done.
kind of, I mean, because like think about it, the way like everybody gets shot up and then
But like
the
it doesn't you
TPU in
can
the
tell
head
it
is
just
what
it
kills
feels
Dan
like
Aykroyd's
pow
character.
boom pow, like a comic book, like boom
Right.
pow, that
It's
kind of
just a lot of, because it's so much and it's over the top. And it's also characters that you aren't like so invested in that you're like, no, you're like, well, yeah, he sucks too. And, sorry, Dan Aykroyd, sometimes you just have to have your head caved in by a TV, and that's just going to be the way it goes.
right.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
but
enjoyed the
because
banter, but
yeah, I think because it's so witty and it's really about it's like a witty play, on screen, it doesn't feel like there's any real true losses that
no,
happen. Yeah.
no,
Oh,
it's
and the
kind of like very bouncy almost.
well, and even the going back to his childhood house and it's a
Okay,
mini mart and he says
I
you can
have
never
that.
go home again, Oatman, or you can shop there. What you can shop
It was
there.
like, so I mean, I guess you can't go home again, but I guess you can shop there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're just
And I
like,
love when
that's where he's starting.
and he shows up and he like walks in and he's talking to the cashier. He's like, "What are
Yeah.
you doing here? What like?" And the guy's like,
How long have you been here? Like this kid somehow was the one who like created the mini mart. And I do like, and I don't know that this guy has been in a lot of other things, but the reaction after the place gets blown up and John Cusack's like, "Hey, you okay?" And the guy just he even sounds like he kind of his voice cracks a little bit because he's a teenager and he's like, "No," like he's gonna cry, like, "I'm not okay. Now I got to get another job." And like, and then he's just like walking off, and you're kind of like, that is the right reaction, actually.
"Yeah,
Not
yeah,
like, hey man, thank you. It's like, just
yeah,
that hurt.
yeah." I think just that's why the movie's fun is because it's so what so many people face in growing up and thinking about your lost love and thinking about your hometown and dealing with like the hassles of being an adult, but it's
Yeah,
done with this extra layer of being removed from it all because of the absurdism of like this professional killer and the fact that every time someone asks him his job he tells them
he
like flat
does. Yeah,
out I'm a professional killer and they're like oh yeah you get benefits with that like
right.
they just roll with it and
Because
they
you
don't really
would,
press him.
because it's so silly. You can totally see people saying like, "Oh, okay," like, all right, fine. You don't want to say like,
Right.
it's just like, oh, okay, you're just being, and maybe his personality back then too was kind of joking and stuff. So you're just like, okay, yeah, I'll go with it. Like, I'm not gonna actually sit there. Like, it would be crazy of a person to hear that and then go, oh my God, for real? Like, tell me everything, because you'd be like,
Right.
this is a joke. Why would you
No one
even
expects. Yeah.
engage?
Yeah.
So he is like honest on that. There was something else I was thinking of. Oh, so he does kind of make me feel like and this has probably been said before, it's like Lloyd Dobler became a hitman.
Yes, it is like that. I feel like because it's the same high school girlfriend, it's almost
The
like he left,
dad,
he came back. I know there's a lot of
dad
similar
he's trying to save
elements.
was money, who I don't know that the dad necessarily did anything wrong. It sounds like he was going to testify against that company about leaky sunroofs. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it's got that whole thing, just the way he's talking about like his like stream of consciousness on like his philosophies of things, and like this is meaningless, and but this is why I do, this is my code. And he also got to do some kickboxing because
I
he's
know. He's
for real
like,
a kickboxer, and
yeah.
that in say anything.
Yeah, he's really I was wondering. I was like, I have to look up the stunts here because he's really doing some moves.
I think he's really, at least for some of that, I think
Yeah.
for sure. He's very physical in it too, like
Yeah,
when
he's
he's
very
like jumping
physical.
around his hotel room on the phone, and like he's
Yeah, the
very,
part where he like hops onto the chair and both
yeah,
legs are on either side. I'm like, how did he do
I
that?
know. And he's a tall, lanky guy, so it's like
Yeah, you don't expect it.
that's not always gonna work. So yeah, the character is just very, it has that same kind of energy, and the way
And the
he's like
phone,
so
yeah, like
devoted.
talking fast on the phone, like the
Yeah,
fast
yeah,
talking on the phone.
always, always, and like constantly, you know, the banter with whomever it is, he's just kind of like he doesn't give off antisocial vibes in the way of like he obviously can be very outgoing and like charming with people. I mean, it starts like the teacher who's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're the only one who could ever say, I that I look great, and me not note any kind of like kiss ass in it. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
always have managed to pull that off. Like
Yeah.
you're always able to really say the right thing in the right tone.
But look at the writing of, I mean, that even that scene is so well written. It's
Oh
so
yeah,
accurate. It's so, yeah, sharp.
very
It's like sharp.
much. Yeah, and oh, I felt like there were things just because of the way the reunion is, and the reunion has got 80s music and all that. Like it does have those moments of say anything to a degree.
Yeah.
Um, and then it like
There's
just
just
with the
no Eric
characters,
Stoltz. There's Jeremy Piven just like can say anything, but there's no Eric Stoltz.
right. But like there's,
That would add so much if Eric Stoltz showed up in this movie.
but you know what? I think Jeremy Piven wasn't say anything. Wasn't he
That's
one of the
he was. That's what I'm saying. He
okay, oh
was.
right. When
He
he
was at
is
he
hugging
was at
him
the
and he's like,
party.
right. But like the same thing happens again at one
Yeah.
point where he's like, "Oh, you're the best," like, and it's just like repeating itself. And then there's Jenna Elfman randomly in it with the neck brace, which was very 16 Candles Joan Cusack,
Oh.
because in 16 Candles, Joan's in that she has like virtually no speaking lines, but she's the one who gets with Long Duck Dong at
Yeah.
the end. But she's got the like whole neck brace thing going on.
Right,
And I
right.
saw Jenna Elfman there. I was like, they have to be doing this on purpose.
Yeah, like maybe like little like planning little
Little Easter
memories.
eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just very like,
Yeah.
this is too close to
Yeah.
not be like, like it's referencing all these films that a lot of these characters in some way have been in over the years.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
it feels
God,
like
it's
it's like this was probably a good time.
and like I wonder why they chose Michigan. So that was going to be my other question. Do you
Isn't he
know
from
like
there? No, he's from Chicago.
they're from Illinois? Yeah, I was going to ask you that. It's Evanston, not Chicago, but that was going to be another one of my trivia
I
questions.
knew
But
that
what
because John
makes
Hughes. That's part of
Michigan?
how they always got
Oh,
in those early movies
oh, John
because
Hughes
they
always
cast
did
from Chicago.
Chicago. Did
Yeah.
he? Interesting.
But
Is
it's like the
Chicago
same
like
kind of feel.
does Chicago still do that kind of thing? Do people only some filmmakers like kind of choose a city or
I'm
something?
sure it depends on the tax credits you can get. And I mean, a lot of stuff in California, they're like, "Oh, that's getting filmed in Toronto because
Yeah, yeah,
tax stuff." But like, there's always your M. Nights who are like Philadelphia for everything, or,
yeah.
you know,
Although I've
Chicago
really
maybe.
lost like M Night. I mean, he's kind of Does anybody watch his stuff anymore? Do people still watch this stuff? It just seems like it got cheesier and cheesier.
He had that series I watched. It was on Apple, and that was
Oh,
freaky and
what
interesting.
what was it called? It was a series? I
It
didn't even
was,
know
yeah,
about
with
that.
this nanny, and it's like it had like supernatural stuff going on. It
Oh,
had,
so you liked it.
I did. I mean, it was creepy. It had that creepy sense, and like it was one of those things where you didn't know what was going to happen next. So I felt like he executed that really well for a series.
Trap? Was it called Trap?
No, that's the movie he more recently did, which I think did pretty well and had Josh Hartnett in it. In
Oh,
it.
okay. See, I'm so out of the loop about
No, this
stuff.
was something, it was a series and it had Lauren Ambrose and the kid
Apple. It was on
Rupert Grint,
Apple.
who was Harry or Harry Potter's friend.
Servant. Oh,
Yes, that.
Servant.
It had
Thrilling,
like,
uneasy, and psychological. That's
yes,
the
it did. And it was. Twas. It hit all of those notes. So it was one of those things
Philadelphia
where I was like,
couple. Yeah, it's set
huh?
in Philadelphia. Who knew?
You know, again, it's like in this nice brownstone in Philly. Like I don't
Wow.
know of any other ones where he doesn't have it in like a Philadelphia,
Would
Pennsylvania
you
area.
suggest it? It looks interesting, actually. I didn't know
I
about that.
would, but watch it during maybe the day
Yeah, I can't watch that at night.
and you'd have
I
to
won't be able to
decide
sleep.
if it's too like sometimes I would be like, I'm gonna go a while before watching this next episode because I am not in that mode. Like
Yeah.
I'm not in that like, oh God, creepy, crawly feeling.
I can't do that stuff very much. Like what was that other one on HBO? It was so well done. I watched a couple of the episodes, but I was like, I can't go to sleep after watching this. And I
Dexter?
what's the one about zombie? It's a zombie
Oh.
apocalypse. This not this
Oh,
it's like a
well,
one
there's
of
The Last of
not
Us.
The Last of Us. Yeah. That was like, whoa, really powerful. And I was like, okay, I can't finish this because I'm not gonna be able to
Yeah.
sleep.
Oh, well, that second episode, because I watched the most recent episode and I'm like, Pedro Pascal.
Well,
Not
it's
to be a
just
spoiler,
so
but in the video game, apparently it happens. So, he gets killed
oh,
in a
I
really
don't
tough
remember.
way by
I
Caitlin Dever.
probably saw that one, but I just was like, I
This
can't
is
do
in the second season. So now he's been killed off on
Oh, second
episode
season.
2
Okay.
of season 2. But like there'll be flashbacks or something.
Yeah,
But
this yeah, the Gross Point Blank kind of like tongue in cheek absurdist stuff I can handle.
yeah,
I just can't handle
it
the
has a
really
happy
intensely
ending.
scary. Yeah, it has the happy love story
Like
ending.
they're just driving off, like we're just gonna get out of town. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, good for you. I don't know where the rest of that story goes, but it is just let's go.
Yeah.
So I do think like all of that, it did make me like I feel like I liked it more seeing it. This was probably only my second time watching it in
Oh, I used
many
to watch
years.
it a lot. I owned it. I had it on DVD. It was like one of my favorites, like go-to movies.
Yeah.
Just because I liked watching John Cusack.
Well, I
I
know. And he
love
is
that.
like peak
Yeah. And the
John Cusack.
line, there's just great lines in that movie that
It's very like fast and like fast paced with the dialogue, but
really witty.
funny, very witty. And also like just silly things that happen. I mean, the thing that gets him having an assassin after him is he by mistake killed a billionaire's dog, I believe. That whole Boudreaux
Yeah,
thing,
he has a story about the dog. Yeah.
which I didn't remember that part because it's like, why are they all just wanting to kill him because of this whole guilt thing? Or and it's like, oh no, no, no. The one is because the guy who his dog was killed, he's got a hit on him. And I do like the way that that gets brought up. And I forget if it's Dan Aykroyd who brings it up about the dog and whatever, because he keeps teasing him about the, you screwed up so much and you killed his dog. Like, what did you think was going to happen? But just the way that he's like, I would never knowingly shoot an animal. And I think you should know that about me. And it's like, because they didn't do anything. And you're just like, oh, that's like one of his I've got a heart things. Like,
Yeah, right.
animals are off limits.
Yeah.
I would never hit them.
All right,
So it's
go
just
ahead.
like crazy, like from start to finish, it's like all kinds of like, I don't know,
Weird moral acrobatics. Yeah, which
yeah, but
everybody sort of has to create for themselves. Like, I don't know, different people have different ethics, and you can hear what he has to do these like
yeah,
the configurations to explain who he is and why
yeah.
he does what he does. Yeah.
Well, it's rationalizing like crazy, and in the end, it's, I mean, as you know, Debbie kind of seems to show very expressively in her face when she's learning all this, and also just saying back to him where it's like, but you're killing people. It's like, but no, 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 no. This is how I'm not as bad as these guys. These guys are the worst. And it's like, it's still killing for money. It's still like, you rationalize it all you want, but we're still getting back to this point.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah, he's very removed from the fact that these are people or that there's
right. But he like has enough as he's talking, especially where he's like, oh, that sounded bad. So like it's maybe sinking in more that he's like, because he's not been hanging out with people really. So like him saying it out
yeah.
loud to
He doesn't
someone
have
else.
friends. Yeah, he definitely
Right.
doesn't have
And
friends. Yeah.
this isn't by someone who's employing him or he's employing, like with Marcella. So you have like, oh, here's a regular person who you like and respect, that you probably are just now for the first time realizing these are all the things that you have going on in your head, and don't realize maybe they don't make sense, or like they're excuses. They're not.
Well, he doesn't want to hear that because when the therapist tells him this is not
He's
okay,
like,
he's
yeah,
like, I
right.
don't want to talk about that. So,
Let's
but
not talk about work.
what are Marcella's ethics though? Like it doesn't really get into her
No, she's just
like
kind of a
she
paper
seems
pusher.
like yeah, and she doesn't seem I mean, she obviously knows what he's doing, but she doesn't seem concerned. Like it
No.
doesn't seem to bother her.
Yeah, I guess it's like a very middleman thing that she's in, which is, logistics and getting files together and stuff and ordering supplies.
Yeah.
But she's not, the only time she's ever seeming to freak out is, well, about the whole soup thing. Um or when she's like, very bad people wanted you to get this done and you're telling me you haven't got it done. So
Yeah.
like, but not in a, you should rethink your life. Although the wanting him to go to the high school thing, I mean, part of it is it amuses her to be saying like your high school reunion's coming. I don't even believe that you came from anywhere, so that's why I want you to go. It's just funny, but also she is kind of like, maybe reflect on your life. Like,
I know.
I feel like that's like something's missing or something. Like
And
go
and
home.
it is the thing that ends her job and his, you know, he's
Right.
it
And
is
she's
yeah.
fine with it. I mean,
Yeah.
she's got the gasoline that she's pouring everywhere and like trying to destroy computers
She's getting
because,
a wad of cash, so
but
it's
when
okay.
she gets the cash, she really is like she was a little frenetic, but she seemed okay with like, I gotta burn it all down now, we done. And then when the cash is there, she's just very like, what? For me? Like a pension? Thank you so much. And then she's like psyched and just, okay, on to the next. Which I
Yeah.
do like. Like they do have, I mean, it is kind of like a sibling relationship that they're,
Yeah, it
even though
is.
it's lawyer
You can
employee.
feel a sibling relationship in it.
Yeah,
Like
just like,
it feels natural but
yeah,
awkward.
yanking on each other's chain about
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And her being able to be like more pushy with him about things. So I thought like they always have a good vibe. I mean, they're constantly in each other's movies.
Yeah.
He just doesn't, I mean, I don't know of any movie where she's in a movie with him.
Right.
She's not more of a like second, third billing.
I know.
I think
Yeah,
she's
it'll be
only really gets
interesting.
more starring time in other movies that she has done apart from him.
So let's take a break and then because there's always at the end of the Ms. Wonderful Film Club podcast a script reading and then we can sort of see her in a little bit more of a priority role and
Okay.
Martin Blank in a secondary role. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's just take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, so the Ms. Wonderful Film Club podcast. We are back and we are talking or actually finishing our conversation about Grosse Point Blank. And as in is typical on the Ms. Wonderful Film Club podcast, we end with an original little script that is based on the story. So we have Grosse Point Blank, where Joan Cusack is playing Marcella, who is the assistant to the boss, Martin Blank, who's really a hitman. And we know if we flash forward a few years, Martin has kind of lost his taste for being a hitman. Also, Marcella has come into a big wad of cash that helps her start a business. So this script is going to be a very short little you know, few
Slice
years
of
later,
life.
like 10 years in the future, what would be happening in the relationship between Marcella and Martin. So the setting is Baltimore, Maryland, and this is called Baltimore Boutique. Marcella owns her own fashion boutique, and on the side, she gives Martin Blank relationship coaching for his marriage. Now, in this, Martin is married to Debbie, who's the Minnie Driver, who's the co-star in Grosse Point Blank. So we're imagining what it might look like in the future. Do you want to play Ms. Cool? Do you want to play Marcella or Martin in this jaunt we're doing? Jaunt.
Uh, I'll go with Martin.
Martin. Okay. Great. All right. So this is all on the phone because most of the scenes,
Relationship. Yeah,
yeah, are on the phone in the movie Grosse Point Blank. Okay, so the phone rings. Hello.
it happened again.
What?
She's talking to that guy again on Instagram.
Well, how do you know it's a thing? It could just be that they're friends. Maybe they have some music interests in common.
I don't know, Marcella. I feel like I'm losing my edge. Ever since I've stopped killing, I've become more complacent about life. I golf 4 days a week. I eat pastrami sandwiches. I spend afternoons watching birds in the backyard. I don't shower regularly. I think Debbie is falling out of love with me.
Okay, let's just focus on one thing at a time. When was the last time you bought Debbie flowers?
Oh gosh. Probably our anniversary last year.
Okay, okay. She needs some flowers. And don't forget how much she liked that airplane game you did. When was the last time you played airplane?
I can't remember.
See, we can get your passion back. I am going to send you one of my power suits with a purple tie. I think Debbie will really swoon when she sees this purple tie, and I will include a special scarf that you can give her as a present. Take her out on a date, sir. Find a nice little romantic Italian restaurant, like the restaurant in that Billy Joel song.
Oh God, Billy Joel, are you serious? I have to find a restaurant that makes me think of Billy Joel.
You get the idea. Wine, a piano, and some nice new clothes. Flowers. You can get Debbie excited about you again, sir. I know it.
All right, Marcella. You've always come through for me before. You have insight even when I don't want to admit it. I will try the purple tie.
Okay. No, not the pink swimsuits. We are retro for next season. I want ruching. Call them back and get the ruching. Okay, sir. I'm sending out the materials tomorrow AM. Get prepared for at least one night of nostalgic romance, maybe even passion.
All right, Marcella. I'm counting on you.
The two hang up. Marcella goes back to the stock room and stacks a few boxes. Okay.
And see.
End scene. I love it. I love this idea of Marcella and Martin because
Well,
he would need relationship coaching.
he
You know
still
that.
needs a girl Friday, even though
Is,
that's kind of
is that what a girl
diminishing
Friday
her
is?
character. Yeah, like banter and
Yeah.
coworker, but usually it's like the assistant to like the girl
Yeah,
Friday
because
is like,
she's like gonna she loves him. Like she clearly has love for him, so she's gonna always support him in whatever
yes, but she's got
whatever.
her own things too.
Yeah. I love it.
He's
I
not
love it.
paying the money anymore, so
Right. Yeah. She's got a boutique, Baltimore boutique. No,
indeed.
just watch since you're in Baltimore. There's going to be like in the next week, I bet you're going to like wander around a boutique and you're like, there's just going to be a boutique and you're going to say, this would be the boutique that Marcella would own. Like you're going to see something that just fits into our little scheme here.
I mean, it'll probably be a Nan Taylor loft, to be honest, because I do have a gift card, but I think that fits.
You think she'd shop at Ann Taylor Loft? I don't
I
know.
think that character would have a place like that for,
It wouldn't be the loft. It would be more Ann Taylor and above. Like the loft is a little,
I
you
don't
know.
know, the loft probably
Mm.
makes a good amount of money.
Oh, you mean
The
for her
price
to make
points.
the money? Yeah, the price points. Yeah, I've not been in an Ann Taylor Loft in a really long time.
Oh, well, they've got some good stuff.
Well, as you venture into the Ann Taylor Loft, I think you should just keep an eye out for, I don't know, a boutique that has swimsuits with ruching.
Again, I
It could
feel like
happen.
I'm in the Ann Taylor area. It's gonna be there.
Okay.
I'm not worried.
Um, well, thank you as always, Ms. Cool, aka Katie. I should actually be the opposite. Katie, aka Miss Cool. But
Yes.
thank you as always for your companionship on the journey through movie land. And in this case, Gross Point Blank Land, John Cusack,
Yes.
Joan Cusack, and a cast of characters who are so fun. And this movie is so fun. So I hope anybody who has not seen it will definitely watch Gross Point Blank. And if you have seen it, you have to watch it again because did you notice? Did you get the Amazon Prime deal? This was, I'm not trying to advertise for anybody, but it was only $5 to own this movie on Amazon Prime. I found. Did you, how
Maybe.
did
I
you
think I
watch it?
just rented it, but I
You
feel like it
wasted
said
your money. You could have bought it
17.99 when it said to buy, so I don't know, maybe it changed.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
Not that I really want to hoop like add, you know,
Look, you're not
money.
like I
There are
don't know, what is it called?
conveniences in modern life that are just hard to ignore. And I think
Of course.
if people can um find the magic genius of convenience and also uh-oh, I lost Katie. And also, well, Katie's gone. If people can find the magic genius of convenience and also help humanity, we will have won Ms. Wonderful Land. Okay. Thank you for joining us. I am Jana Marie Rose, your host. You can find out more about this film club on Rosewoods TV. So on YouTube, just type Rosewoods TV, all one word. Or you can go to mswonderful.substack.com and find a lot of posts about a lot of movies, consciousness in film, relationships, letters to filmmakers and people in films. It's a wild ride, and I'm creating it. Thank you for joining.